Okay,
All set?
all set, yep.
If we're all ready, good evening. Welcome to the City of Riviera Beach Planning and Zoning Board meeting. It is approximately 6:30 PM on Thursday, June 22nd, 2023. If you wish to speak on any items on this agenda, please complete a public comment card and provide it to the Planning and Zoning staff. Cards must be submitted prior to board discussion of an item. Thank you. At this point, please, let's say a moment of silence. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Davidson, roll call, please.
Here.
Present.
Here.
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 Thank you. Do we have an acknowledgement of board member absence notification? Thank you. Additions or deletions to the agenda? Disclosure of board members? For this upcoming, do we have any disclosures? Can we move for the adoption of this agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Now we move on to the approval of the meeting minutes for May 25, 2023.
So moved.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. We have any unfinished business for the record? Now we move on to new business. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, I'm Kurt Thompson, Principal Planner for the City of Riviera Beach, and I will present this before you. Ms. Davidson has already read that. This is the site map showing the location of the subject property. Most of you, I'm sure, realize the location. It is 600 West Blue Heron Boulevard, which is the location of the municipal complex. The total acreage of the complex is just over 12 acres. The total acreage for the subject site is just over 3.33 acres. The applicant, which is the City of Riviera Beach, is to request to build a new two-story fire station and EOC center for the city. This is proposed fire station number 87 is to replace the existing fire station, which is really fire station number 1. We got a little bit of typo, but we'll fix that when it comes to the city council. But it's replaced fire station number 1. You have there all of the information here. The zoning is community facilities, and the future land use is also community facilities. The proposed site plans you see there are approximately 78 parking spaces, 4 of which will be ADA spaces. You'll see, let's see, there, oops. There's a couple here and a couple more up there, okay? I don't want to zip through this, but if I may say, as your staff person, the city needs this, okay? I'm just going to cut right to the chase. I think Ms. Sherper can appreciate that, having been here on the board for almost 20 years, 18. And so, you know, this EOC building, this new fire station in the EOC building will present a situation where not only will we have a fire station, but we also have an emergency operations center, which is one of the few in this county. Palm Beach County has one. The county, I don't know if any other cities have one, but I know that this area would benefit from it. So having said that, here is the proposed landscape plan, which you all have a copy of. This, what you have here are the elevations, which is the top. I'm sorry, I keep hitting that. The top is the west elevation, and then this lower elevation is the north elevation of the subject property. And on this next slide here, you have the east elevation. The east elevation would be along H Street. In fact, let me go back just a bit. This is West 28th Street here to the north, and this is West H Street here to the east. And to the south here is additional municipal property. And then over here to the west is additional municipal property. We're just showing you here is the actual site itself. So I didn't want to go too fast and just skip over that aspect. There's the elevations. Now, in terms of the staff application, this is a site plan review in section 3157 of the city zoning code. And as you can see here by the points, we could ask in order for this to be approved, we want to ascertain the proposed new development is in conformity with the comprehensive plan. Staff believe that it is. It is not detrimental to the neighboring land uses. Staff believe that it is not. That an efficient pedestrian vehicular traffic system, including proper means, ingress and egress, is provided for. Staff believe that it is because you have at least two ingress and egresses. Let me go back to here, and you see here and here, okay? There will be 4 bays along in this area here that will service the station. Let me go forward again. Okay, and lastly, that the proposed project shall be a viable addition to the community. On point number 4 is where I have emphasized, I don't mean to give any editorialization, but it's pretty clear the benefit that this station could provide. And in staff's review of the application, this is a plus or minus 29,500 square foot facility, 4 apparatus bays for the fire station and EOC center for the city. The proposed fire station 87 is to replace fire station number 1 located at the City Hall complex. The size of the site where this is to take place is just over 3.335 acres and is will be enclosed by a 6-foot high precast high concrete wall along the west and south sides. And if I could, I'll go back just quickly here. As said, on the west and the south wall, south properties will be that wall, 6 foot high. On the north, there will be 3 secured sides to be continuously landscaped. I'm sure some of you saw the landscape plan, continuous hedging and trees here and along here along the south side. There are 2 signs, one up here and one here. Those signs, according to section 28107 of the sign regulations, it allows for uses that are driven by a city or a county, in this case the city. It allows for signs to be 175 square feet per right-of-way. So this sign could actually be up to 175 feet, but it is not. It is approximately 76 feet from end to end, 4 foot high, and 19 feet wide from, when I say end to end, from end to end like that. And then your other sign is going to be here, same type, 4 feet in height, 19 feet wide, total of 76 feet. So as you can tell, that'll be a total of 152 square feet, and according to the regulations, you're allowed up to 175 per right-of-way. So it's going to be far smaller than 175 along this right-of-way, which is West 28th, and along this right-of-way, which is West H as in Harry Street. H as in Harry Avenue, right here. Okay?
I don't mean to interrupt you real quick. So you're
Yes, sir.
saying that it's less than the allowable?
It is less than the allowable.
So then are you requesting an exemption as well? I only saw a site plan approval.
No, they're not. Well, since the sign regulations allows that size, an exemption, I wouldn't say would not be necessary because they're going to be more than meet the regulation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? And if I may go forward again, if I may. So, as I said here, I talked about the just over 1/3 acres in size, and how this new station will have vehicular access points plus fire access to West Avenue H, similar to the current fire station, as I've said earlier. And in staff's review of the application, the main thing here that I want the board to focus in on is the compliance with the comprehensive plan. And this objective 1.1, public facilities availability, this comes directly from the comprehensive plan, which states that the city shall continue to ensure that all development and redevelopment is coordinated with the availability of facilities and services and is compatible with soil condition topography. Well, the soil condition topography is pretty conducive because we already got a complex there of tremendous size on a 12-acre site. And as I've said earlier to board members, I may look at Ms. Shepherd only because Ms. Shepherd's been here the longest. Ms. Shepherd, we need this. This is needed.
Competition with Ms. Burgess now. I'm in competition with her. I think we're kind of.
She's been here this as long?
Been here a long time.
Well, pardon me, ma'am.
2009.
But I will say, Ms. Burgess and on-board members, that the EOC building and the fire station, that is a unique type of situation that I haven't seen very often here in this county, and I've lived here for a few years. So this will be a very unique addition to the city and add the necessary public safety needs that I think the city needs, and would bring the city into the 21st century. And then the last point I want to make here is the landscaping. As I say here, as you saw on paper, but I want to say this verbally, there will be about 53 shade trees, 13 accent trees, and 28 palm trees for a total of 94 trees. And there will be over 3,000 quantities of shrubbery, ground cover, and accents along with St. Augustine saw palmetto sod and non-cypress dark brown mulch at 3 inches in depth. So there's a lot of landscaping that's going to be used here to dress up the site, if you will, and add to the give some attractiveness to the site, because it's been in my experience that landscaping will always increase the value of a property. Plus, it leads to the beautification of the site with a new fire station and EOC building. It was properly heard and noticed here. And at this point, we did not receive any negative or positive or negative input from the general public regarding this petition. So I believe that, as I said earlier, that this is a project that will be needed now and in the future. So the staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Board recommend approval of this application to the City Council based upon the following. The proposal is consistent with the intent of the special exception definition. Well, I'm sorry, of the special exception definition and site plan. The proposal is consistent with the future land use element in the comprehensive plan, objective 181. And lastly, there are site plan conditions of approval that will eliminate any adverse impact. So in conclusion, Mr. Chairman, board members, this project is something whose time has come. All right, staff would like to recommend that you recommend to the council to approve this, and that concludes staff's presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Ms. Davis, we have no comment cards, public comment cards?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, let's start off. Ms. Shepherd, would you like to go first?
You allow me to go last, Mr. Chair? Thank you.
Absolutely. Mr. Gown?
No comment.
Ms. Burgess?
Can you pull the rendering back up? Oh, no, not that one.
The rendering, not
That's
the
the
site plan.
technical rendering, the pretty
That one.
picture.
Like those, this rendering?
Yes, if you can just leave that up. I don't have any questions right now. I do believe it's a good facility, and it's basically gonna model the one currently on Blue Heron.
Yeah, that particular rendering, Ms. Burgess,
Station
is
88.
the north. I'm sorry, let me make sure I get it right. That was one of the earlier ones.
So this one has a couple, remodel upgrades.
Yeah, that one, this one is the, oops,
Oh, yeah, it's much bigger.
this one is the west elevation, and the one below is the north elevation. Okay.
What's the eastern elevation? The one that's facing the street, what's the eastern elevation?
Okay, that's the east elevation, which
On the top.
would be,
I had very similar thoughts, because the one on Blue Heron right now is a beautiful building. I really, and there seems to be some differences between this one and, was it the same architect that did this building, that did the one on Blue Heron? Because there seem to be some nuances that are different, and it would be, I think, really beneficial that the fire stations in Riviera Beach all look alike. Like they were planned to be looked that way.
I think it's time for
I guess the pros are up here. I guess the pros are up here.
Yes, so,
The cavalry.
hello, how y'all doing, board? Thank you. John Kurd, Fire Chief. Agreed 150%. And a lot of the elements are identical. What is different is that front lobby area. And the intent behind that is This is more than just a fire station and an EOC. This is also going to be a museum piece to the history of Riviera Beach Fire Rescue. So that glass enclosure, that lobby that you see right here is going to house a museum based on the history and the people that contributed to build this organization. We decided to make that this focal point and the centerpiece because while the EOC is needed, I don't need to explain Hurricane Ian and the importance of an EOC. That's only a very small function of that space. That's actually going to be a community space where HOA meetings can be held, emergency council meetings can be held, training with Inlet Grove and their students across the street as part of their nursing program. So we think it's going to attract the community into the station, and as they come in to do their business there, they also get to walk through the history of Riviera Beach Fire Rescue. The memorial up front will have the names embedded of each one of our retirees, and then obviously all of the beautiful artwork, murals, statues, and commemorative pieces that are on the inside will be part of it as well. And this site was chosen for that because this site has historical significance to the firefighters in Riviera Beach. This is where many of them were hired, worked their whole careers. So you can see the elements of the 87 where it says Riviera Beach Fire Rescue, the signage out front, the gray and the red off tones are all identical to the other station, but we wanted that focal point on that corner to accent what is going to be the museum piece, if that answers your question.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, not at all. It's beautiful. Coming off of the road when the fire trucks exit, and I know you probably can't tell from here, I was just wondering where the, what do you guys call that, the lights, like
Yes.
the block off the traffic?
So it is identical to the station we have now. So our preemption, our lighting, and our deployment won't change from the way it's been since 1972. So everything is going to be identical, while the station is being shifted slightly on the property to get up more towards the corner to leave space for what's planned in the future for that site. But otherwise, it's going to be at the same exact location with the same exact deployment model that we've used for almost 50 years.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Absolutely.
I just have a few questions. You mentioned aluminum picket fence. Where is that, aluminum? Is it aesthetically, I mean, this is a beautiful,
Yeah, the aluminum fence goes on the north side along 28th Street. You can imagine with our wonderful partner, the school board in Inlet Grove, and the improvements that we anticipate there through the school board's investment, we didn't want to put up a wall on 28th Street and have the school looking at a wall and hide this beautiful facility. We do, although, need to provide security for the site because of the nature of the operation. So we elected to put a aluminum picket fence similar to what is on 88 right there at Congress and Blue Heron. You'll see the black, nice decorative fence that really accents the reds and the grays that are in the building's color palette. So the fence goes along 28th Street so that the students, and again, this is all part of the recruitment as well as our residents seeing an operation, seeing the building, seeing the comings and goings, and wanting to aspire into the fire service. So we intentionally didn't put a wall on the north side so that Inlet Grove could see what's going on at the property while still providing our needed security for the site.
Right, see, Mr. Bill makes a good point because the intent of aluminum picket fence is to allow visibility inside of the property. Plus, it allows the landscaping to grow, and eventually the landscaping will grow in such a way that the picket fence could be screened or concealed.
going back to landscaping. The trees and the shrubs we're gonna plant in there, we're gonna make sure we don't do like 1 foot shade trees that will grow in 30 years, correct?
Correct.
We're gonna make sure that we order the right stuff, not be cheap over here, and
Right.
order like,
Well,
you know, those little 12-inch things at
Right.
Home Depot or Lowe's.
Okay,
And then 30 years from now it'll grow?
Right. The code requires a minimum of a 12-foot high shade tree. Accent trees, the code says minimum height of 10 feet. At planting, I mean, I'm just quoting you the code. Of course, we can go higher. Okay, it's just the minimum is 12. They could go higher in terms of shade trees and or palms, and accent trees are 10 feet, but you can go higher. Don't have to be less. They cannot be less, but they can be higher.
And one last question. I hope the city's looking at, I'm a little biased towards my other brothers and sisters in blue, the law enforcement side of the family. I'm hoping that we're also looking to build nice facilities like that for them. Is that coming anywhere near the Pike lately?
If you go back to the April 19th City Council meeting, myself and multiple other staff made a lengthy presentation on the situation in our police department right now. They're currently being relocated from this property to a temporary site, and we were authorized by the City Council to move forward with the necessary documentation and solicitation to provide them a new permanent headquarters.
So going back now, we did 88, we did 87, knowing full well of the issues with our police officers and their facilities. How come we didn't come up with a strategic plan for them as well a couple of years ago when we did 88?
That is we would need to take that offline. That is a pretty complicated question that's not pretty complicated history and not necessarily related to the site plan before you. But
Chief, though, I love my fire brothers, but
And look, we all do the same work serving our community.
absolutely.
And I've been involved in some of the conversations of what's to come for the police department. There's been a lot of different options that have been out there for them. 88 and 87 came about simply because of the shutdown of the stations and our firefighters living in trailers and not having showers and those type of things. So there was a little bit of a faster reaction on that end, but I could assure you from what I'm seeing, you're going to be more than pleased with what they do for the police department.
We look forward to that. Ms. Clark?
Sure.
Yes,
A
I'm
couple
sorry.
of questions.
Hold on, we had, Ms.
Yes.
Ms. Clark, go ahead.
Couple of questions. Could you elaborate more on the operation center? You were sharing that is going to be unique to our municipality. So could you elaborate on that? And I also would like to understand too, because of it being a emergency operations center, are there other municipalities or towns that are also going to tap into this resource? And if they do, are they going to be required to help fund this operation? That's two questions, and then I have a third one.
Okay. Well, let's start with the first part of that question. No, we're not the only municipality to have an EOC. No, we are not the only municipality to have an EOC and a fire station combination. However, we've never had an EOC. We are right now weathering every storm in a building that, quite frankly, I don't feel comfortable in. What this allows us to do is have a central operations center designed specifically to support operations within the city of Riviera Beach. The hierarchy is obviously the Fed's state. We have Palm Beach County's EOC, and then you have your municipal EOCs. We will now be able to function as a true freestanding EOC and not rely as much on Palm Beach County, because when we have a county-wide event, we've been told you're going to be able to need to take care of yourself. So this is what this is preparing us for. If we had an Ian or a coastal disaster, we're not going to get the support that we expect from our neighboring municipalities. Yes, a tornado, yes, a large fire, all the resources come in, but if they're tapped, we got to have the facilities necessary to be able to sustain ourselves and our government here in the city of Riviera Beach.
Okay, and the other question was, are there other towns or municipalities that want to use the resources there, whether it's the building, the equipment, the staff, because it is an emergency operations center, and I guess that's up to council to decide that, but if they do they typically financially help support our municipality because we've done the heavy lifting?
So what you would see in a scenario, and understand that we are part of the statewide mutual aid agreement. So we would provide support to any municipality who needed it. This may also be a fallback for another municipality, as we've partnered with them to fall back into their EOC should ours become destroyed or what have you. Usually in that type of scenario, the money would come from a declaration of a disaster or an emergency, and the funding that we would seek to get reimbursed would come from the state and the federal government through us allowing them to use our EOC. But as far as any financial contributions, we would not see that. We will see federal funds coming in. We received a grant for the demolition of the current existing station from the Solid Waste Authority. We got a $125,000 grant. We also got $1 million in appropriation funding from the state of Florida for the design of this fire station and EOC. So the state, part of that statewide mutual aid agreement that we're a part of, has funneled some monies down to us to assist with the hardening of our, municipal government and facilities so that we can sustain, what we hope to never see in the future.
So if Palm Beach Shores, for example, does not have the facility or capability, because you will service them, but it's not necessarily that they, as a municipality, would not invest. They could just say, let us just tap into what Riviera Beach has because of the close proximity. Just in case of an emergency,
I would think that our government and their government would come to an agreement on supporting or providing support for each other, but I could assure we would not incur any undue burden or cost to basically allow them to say, oh, we don't need an EOC, we'll just go to Riviera. That's not what this is, but in a time of tragedy or disaster, could an agreement be met? I would think absolutely.
Right, I'm okay with that. And last question, the new fire station, I guess the grand opening is on Saturday. Not that I've been to the top of it, but it's pretty flat, and I see that this facility is pretty flat. What happens to the runoff of rain? How is that dissipated outside of the roof? Maybe for both of them while I'm at it.
So the term flat, excuse me, the term flat roof is simply a term of art. You really have your standard house sort of pitched roofs and a roof with a parapet wall around the outside that merely looks flat. If you get up there and walk on it, it's still pitched ever so slightly.
Okay.
And if you're coming in on Blue Heron off of 95 or heading east, you'll see those little holes up at the top. They're called scuppers. That's water can flow through the pipes, but if it stands up on the roof, it'll overflow and you'll see it coming down out there. So the roofs are not exactly flat. They're just called flat roofs.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious.
Yeah, a couple comments, questions. One, spectacular. I really like what y'all have done on Blue Heron. Glad to see this going on here. As I went and looked through some of the backup material, it appears that we're setting the finished floor for an emergency operations center based on being about a foot or a little over a foot above the 100-year flood storm, which is consistent with every other building that's constructed around here. With this being our EOC, I would suggest you all talk to your engineer and consider looking at maybe the 500-year storm because of the floods that just happened down in Fort Lauderdale and the way they impacted the airport down there. If this is going to be our EOC, dirt's cheap, and it's a lot cheaper to put in extra dirt now to raise the foundation of that up to above the 500-year flood now than to think about doing it if you're sitting on an island out there and you're ankle deep in water. So again, it's just an observation of mine. A recommendation would really strongly consider that we maybe even put a recommendation into the approval that you all consider raising the finished floor a little higher since this is going to be an EOC.
I'd love to give you a response because I set the finished floor personally. I did as your city engineer and the person who oversees the stormwater master plan and has access to all of the Rainfall data, I personally decided on what the finished floor will be, to the point where it was a foot above what the engineers thought it should be, and there was some healthy discussion. Luckily, the situation you're referring to happened the day that we were having a discussion about the elevation of the finished floor, and then there wasn't a discussion. So it is 4 to 6 inches above the 500-year floodplain.
Oh, it is?
That,
Okay.
said it personally, yes, intentionally. If you look at the plans in detail, that building finished floor is set 3 feet above the crown of the road. And that gives us an incredible amount of freeboard. And if there's 3 feet of water out in that road, the odds that you're gonna submerge a truck are slim and none. So it is intentionally set to have that building be dry. Please also keep in mind, the EOC is on the 2nd floor of the building. There are stairs all the way around, and those stairs are also set very high. So we have looked at it from about every angle and 360 degrees in circumference. As somebody who will probably be sleeping there personally, that building's not going anywhere.
What's the elevation of your generator set at?
All of them are up at all of them are at the generator building is attached on the northwest corner, and it too is above the 500-year floodplain.
While the EOC is on the 2nd floor, the generator is not, but it is above the 500-year flood.
Yes.
Perfect. That's what, the only other comment I have is just, these buildings look really, really good. Is this going to be a totally separate site plan from the rest of the governmental center that's going to be going on here? Is the planning on coordinating the architecture of what else is going to happen on the rest of the site? Or is this just going to be a standalone fire station, and the city will take care of what that looks like later on?
Yes, this site plan is standalone because of the nature, to your previous point. This needs to be an iconic building that looks similar and identifiable as a fire station. So what happens on the balance of the property is undetermined, so we'll sort of cross that bridge when we come to it down the road. But again, obviously, it will be before this board at its appropriate time when it is ready.
All right, thank you, great job.
Quick question, did you identify yourself and your title before you started speaking? I know the chief did, but if you don't mind for the record.
For the record, Terrence Bailey, City Engineer, Riviera Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Ms. Shepherd?
Yeah, Mr. Kurt. Yes, ma'am. Chief Kurt, thank you. So you say you're gonna have like a museum,
Yes.
in that building? And you know, I'm gonna be happy about that because Chief Wester and of course Troy Perry.
You should see what's planned.
Mr.
Mr.
Reginald Durham. When they left, I cried, and they kept reassuring me it was gonna be okay. And when it came to you, Reginald Durham, I'll never forget, he said, "You're in good hands." And I saw him, and I said, "Chief Durham, you did not. This is the best of the best." And I thank you for coming on board. No questions, but I am enthused with Station 88. Somebody called me, and they were talking about it was lighting up, it was lit. I had no clue, because I don't go out at night, so I have no clue. But I came from Fort Pierce from seeing my daughter who was ill, and I came down. And when I looked to my left, I said, "Oh my God, we're on top of the world." It was so beautiful. And I want to encourage people to come out for the ribbon cutting, because I think this is going to be an exceptional lead for us in the city of Riviera Beach. So I am excited of this next station going up. How long will it take to start building? Have you started thinking about when, Mr. Bailey, this is gonna?
Yeah, we got some good numbers on that.
Yes, as you know, we anticipate your support here tonight. We've been assured that we will be going to City Council on July 12th. Once the council approves it, we are looking to move expeditiously, i.e. approximately the beginning of August, for you to start seeing dust flying in the air. Everybody is hotly anticipating this project, so we're looking to have no space or opportunity for the start of construction, the demolition of the existing building, and then moving directly into construction for this project.
Hold your thought there, because across the street you have transitioned it into a temporary station, is that right?
Yes, we are currently building the temporary facility on the south side.
It doesn't look temporary to me. That building looks, well, I guess it has to be for the hurricane season.
Our first responders have to sleep there, so we still need to protect their interest, even though it is temporary. We did purchase all of that material, so we will be able to reallocate it for different purpose in the future once we have this permanent Fire Station 87 online.
Okay, so how long will it take? You said August. How long
Yeah.
will it take really? Months, a year? Have you really gave it thought?
It'll certainly be the first quarter of 2025. I mean, it's going to be a good 15, 16 months. I mean, if you look at the timeline for Fire Station 87, it should mirror that. And we're in that 15, 16-month time horizon from when construction started to the grand opening. And by the way, the grand opening is July 8th, 11 a.m.? July 8th, 11 a.m. We really would love for everyone to come out and see the progress and what the first project in our Reimagine Riviera Beach, the manager said he wanted to put a flag in the ground so people believed in Reimagine Riviera Beach. And that is the project. If you couldn't dream it, if you couldn't see it, you can certainly now reimagine Riviera Beach going forward. And this is our second project, and we were not allowed to have any drop-off or delay. It is coming as soon as we can get it out of the ground.
While you're there, Mr. Bailey, you're going to tear down the building with the fire station. Now, are you going to tear down the building with the police are at, or is that another phase? How does that go?
That is not connected to this project.
It's not?
No, because, again, this project is solely inside the four corners of the site plan before you. But to answer your question, yes, police is currently being relocated, as I mentioned, for that council meeting, and I believe you were there.
I was there.
We are relocating the police department as we speak, and within the next 90 days, they will be completely out of that facility, and I have been tasked to get it on the ground as fast as reasonably possible.
Okay, going back to the plan, I know we said we're getting out early, but since you're questioning it, City Hall, because it's gonna be a lot of dust and dirt, how do you kind of cut off the dust and the dirt from affecting people going into City Hall?
That is an
Sounds like a
extremely,
tall project to me.
pardon?
It sounds like a very tall project to me that you're gonna.
Are you speaking of demolishing the police building or construction of this property?
No, police and City Hall, because if you're gonna tear down the, fire station, wouldn't it be a lot of dust and dirt, or?
No. These are very seasoned professionals. They also have a lot of liability insurance, and they have an interest in making sure that nothing like that happens. So I'm sure you have seen a house get demolished, and they take a hose and they're hosing it down, a lot of water in the air. That water is what suppresses any dust from flying up, and then they can collect all the material and take it off site. So they have very tried and true techniques to make sure there are no deleterious impacts to any neighboring properties or interest. But believe you me, if you know anybody who works at City Hall, it will not be an issue, and it will, like the team here, they work at City Hall, and they're going to make sure that nothing like that happens.
Okay, just questioning you, but thank you, Chief Hurd. I'm anxious to see July 8th. I want to make sure I get a front row seat, because I do want to see that fire station.
I do encourage each and every one of you to come out. We want to see to see the decisions that you make here, what that end result looks like. You know, you probably haven't toured the station or heard much about it, but we are providing tours to other fire chiefs from throughout the country on that fire station. We had the National Firefighter Safety and Health Collaborative members there the other day, along with Firefighters Against the Cancer Epidemic, and this station is the first of its type in the state of Florida, and it's actually being looked at being used as a model for what all fire stations should be built like. There are a lot of technological and engineering controls within the station to really keep our firefighters safe and healthy so they're ready to perform for our community when called upon. I urge you, please come out so you can see the fruits of your labor and enjoy the day with us as we open up our fire station.
Is this the same architect that's going to build it? The
Yeah,
same?
same contractor, same art. What you see at 88, I think it's gorgeous, but I'm biased. I think this is going to be, I think this is going to blow people away.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Clark, I know you had one question.
Yes, just with the invitation, certainly appreciate it. Is it possible that we as a board could piggyback off of one of the invitations or tours, one is not so, high level, that it's may involve staff, it may involve residents, just include us as an invitation, not that we
You set the
haphazardly
date and
just come
time,
by.
and I would like to do something specific for the board.
Okay.
Because some of the things we'll talk about are different than things I talk about with whatever group it is. I kind of tailor that. You all tell me what works for you. If it's an evening you want to go by there, but I really, really would love for you all to come out and see what we've done. We're really changing the industry.
Ms. Davidson, Ms. Franco, can you please follow up with the board for our scheduling and with the chief so we can schedule something?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Chair.
One quick question, Mr. Bailey. Most of the EOC's Cat 5s that I've seen built up in Florida, I believe the last one I was at was a Cat 5, could withhold the Cat 5. What is this going to hold, as far as hurricane?
We affectionately call it Cat 5 Plus.
Good.
As you know, I believe that the Bahamas had 225 mile an hour wind gusts.
Good.
That hit the Bahamas. This building, again, as I mentioned, I'm going to be sleeping there. I got a 10-year-old and I'm going home. So we made sure that we all get to go home after this event in that building.
That was it. I just wanted to make sure they build it right. I know the fire department has a great reputation all across the country for great food, beverages, sleeping accommodations. So we'll be visiting. No, Ms. Burgess?
Oh, yes, this question is for the chief. When you mentioned the museum, I want to make sure my dear friend will be included because she retired a couple years ago from Riviera Beach, Patricia Armour.
Patricia Armour. We also have some very special things set up for Tanya Maxwell.
Okay.
We have a committee that's actually set up it's being run by Tiffany Williams, who is our departmental historian. We also have several retirees that are part of the committee. We are collecting imagery and images from anybody and everybody that we can, and the committee is actually going to sift through and determine what's going to be used where, and we really hope to capture the essence of, we hope in this station there will be a photograph or some type of monument or memorial to just about everybody who's ever worked there.
Nice. Nice. Really love that.
If there's no further questions, could I have a motion to approve site plan, application number SP 23000?
One moment. As you approve, I believe it was said that that was the wrong number, that was.
No, station number 1, just the numbers, 87 to 1, station 1. There's nothing to do with it. There's no, I was told it was going to be corrected.
I just
It's just a
want to
slight-
make sure in the motion that
It's
the
a
right
slight-
number is being
It's a
stated.
Yeah, it's 87 right here, the way Ms.
Okay.
This is
Davidson
a
read
All
it.
right.
Scrivener's error. This 87 is going to place existing fire station number 1.
Right. And it says 87 on the,
Yeah, I just want to make
Yep.
sure the motion just had the right number, because you had mentioned it was
Yeah.
incorrect somewhere else.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
take care. Again, motion to approve site plan application number SP 2300009, already read into the record by Ms. Davidson earlier. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Renee Burgess,
Yes.
Evelyn Harris Clark,
yes.
Russell Barnes, James Gallen,
Yes.
Margaret Shepherd, Frank Fernandez.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you. Workshop items, Ms. Davidson?
None, Mr. Chair.
Public comments?
None.
Staff updates on the comprehensive plan update? And Mr. Bailey, if you can just hang in until we're done, I got a couple questions for you, if you're available.
Mr. Bailey didn't work all day, he want to go home.
Oh.
You'd think I'd remember how to use this. Good evening, everyone. Sunid Simon, Principal Planner, here with the Development Services. And today I'm going to give us our update for the month of June on our comprehensive plan.
Drop the mic.
All right, let's try this again. It's just so close to me. I'll stand here. Here we go. Okay, so for the month of June and May, so mid-May to June, we've been working. We've been working along and trucking along of looking through our comprehensive plan, word by word, in our different elements. And before I get into that, I'll talk about what our consultants have been delivering to us since we last spoke. So since we last spoke, I was hoping I could click. Is there a way to click onto this? I guess not. Since we last spoke, our existing conditions for the city was provided to us to understand how our city looks. My goal with this first one, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that. Ed, are you able to click on that? To click on that first one? I wanted to show you, oh no, where it says existing conditions? Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, let it be. So on our website, I wanted to show you our website. So on our website, we have everything listed there. And the importance of why I wanted to do that was for the mere fact of our community is able to look at what we're doing. Whether we're in meetings, whether we're at activities, or whether we're going elsewhere, we're able to actually see, there we go. Well, it's actually wanting to click on it and actually go to the website. But I'll point at it. We're actually able to see what's happening as we go along. So right now on our website, we have our existing conditions, and then we'll start adding, and then our next one that we're adding up is just a summary of our last meeting to say, what did the people say? What has the community been saying? And how are we, and where are we going from there? So my goal is to push our website and what's happening so people are able to follow along.
Chair, I'm sorry, Cindy.
That's okay.
So for working in the back, she wants to click on where it says existing conditions, the hyperlink.
That's okay.
Oh,
No worries. It's okay.
not working, okay.
I was overambitious. I'm good.
Gotcha.
I'm good with it. Alrighty. So what else will we have? We have a summary of our past workshop as a group, and then we have our rough draft of our data inventory analysis, which is it's two parts that we have of a comp plan. What our past comp plan was missing was, what is the data? What are we looking at? How do we look as a city? Where are we going with all this data? Meaning, like, how many people live here? Where do they live? What types of houses do they live in? What's our commercial properties look like? Where do we have commercial? Do we have enough space? Do we need more? All this information, we didn't have it on our last one because we were utilizing information from the year 2000, but now we are updating that currently, and right now we're looking at rough drafts of this. So this just happened in the past week where we were able to get some rough drafts for our steering committee to review and look at, to understand the conditions of our city, what's the data behind our different elements, in order for them to make more, how would you say that, more sound decisions as we look at our policies right now.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Last question.
No last question, you're fine.
Who's the steering committee? Who's the steering committee?
This is our staff steering committee. So it's our different directors or appointed members of our staff that's reviewing these elements, because they're the ones that work with it every day.
So your staff members
Yes, ma'am.
that work? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Good question, good question. So we'll talk a little bit about that staff and that staff steering committee and what's been happening. So we had our last meeting with our steering committee, which was our third meeting with our steering committee as a whole group, where we're working on developing the guiding principles. The guiding principles are the principles that we'll be using that will fashion how we look within the next 20 years based off of these ideas, where we start to talk about things like, we want to, this is just an example, we want to be a place that's extremely livable, a place where we know where we have places to live, places that allow us to have exercise, fun, open space, and places to shop, retail, places to eat at restaurants, right? So this is a livable place, or we want to be able to walk to different places within 15 minutes. These are just random examples, but that's based off of our community's input as well as your input that you guys have given us on our individual interviews and our staff's input. Yes, ma'am.
land use, transform downtown to walkable entertainment, et
I'll get
cetera.
into that.
And then it says, prevent non-residential uses from taking over current neighborhood, et cetera. Now, we're in the process of updating this comprehensive plan.
Yes, ma'am.
But however, we have applications that are coming into the Planning and Zoning Department that will be contrary to what land use, for example, has delineated. So my question is, even though this has not been approved, it's not really complete, those applications are coming through, and I personally don't want to see these applications get approved, knowing that they're going to be contrary to this example of land use. So if I'm ahead of myself, okay, you can come to that, but that is my question. It just stuck out.
Yeah, you're a little ahead of yourself, but I'm glad it stuck out. So right now, so what I'm showing you here at this table is some of the feedback that we've received. And I want us to remember these are just feedback currently, okay? And so the part, like what you've been looking at, the first one where it says community input, these are just kind of like, what has the community said so far that we've heard? These are examples of what the community has said. And then the next box, the next column that you see is some of the staff feedback that we've been seeing based off of what we need to look at within our plan. What our consultants will be doing is looking at that community's feedback, look at staff's feedback of how they've been working on it, look at our decision makers' feedback that we've received through our one-on-one interviews, and then they'll be able to put together some guiding principles that would help us get to that next step, okay? So right now, you're just seeing the input that they've given, but it's not necessary, it's nothing that's on paper that says this is what we are making sure is happening. This is how myself as the resident feels about how I look at when we look at land use, or how I feel about when we look at parks. I want more parks, or I think we have too much parks. But these are just their input that they've given as a whole group is what we've seen.
How can I get a copy of this? Is it on the website, or this is your presentation, and if I could get a copy of it?
This is my presentation, but you can also get a copy of the community's input if that's what you're requesting.
No, just this one here.
Okay, I can send that to you.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. But you'll also see these same, if not similar comments, similar if not the same comments on our review of our last meetings and what we've been getting from the community thus far. That is on our website. So overall update. So most of our teams, like I told you, we've been reviewing our comp plan and going through the elements line by line, trying to see what is it that we've already done since the last time we've talked about this, since the last time we reviewed our comp plan? What is it that still needs to continue to be done? And what is it that we need to add to our work? And so that's what we've been working on for the last month and a half, about 2 months. It's been a process. It's been a fun process. He left. Mr. Bailey has enjoyed this process, I believe, the most. And it's just been fun just to kind of go through and see what is it that we're feeling as a city. What are some of the things that we've seen come in before the Planning and Zoning Board that probably we need to relook at to see, does it continue? Is this the taste of the community today still? So there's some of the ideas and thoughts that we go through as we look at these line by line. Our consultants themselves, they utilize their expertise on what's been trending, what actually works in other places, because we're not reinventing this wheel. And then we look at what our staff has said, what our community has said, what our makers have said, and how do we put those together so it can make sense, and so that would actually work to our advantage here as a city. Next, an exciting news. Ms. Jenkins was amazing at the Palm Beach County Housing Plans Steering Committee, where she was able to advocate for the city of Riviera Beach to become the pilot program to be looked at for the Housing for All plan that Palm Beach County is doing right now. So Palm Beach County has presented the housing plan, and they have these action points that we are all looking at as a county. And as we've all been watching, the state has been providing funding that will be going towards different types of housing initiatives. And we as a city have become the pilot program where they'll be looking at our policies, former policies, as well as those that we're thinking about adding for the future. And they'll be looking at these policies and working with us for the next, I think it's about 12 months, 10 to 12 months. We'll be looking together as a group in order to ensure that our policies were able to implement, or is it implementable, the Housing for All plan that the county has. So this is a great endeavor. We'll be working closely with them in order to make this happen. And I'll be that liaison for that particular project. Yes.
Sorry, Chair, I have a question for
Chair.
Sunil. So the Housing for All, because that's, I haven't previously heard of that, is that for just new housing or existing housing as well for Riviera Beach?
Well, this one is for the county in general. How is the county approaching housing? How are we looking at housing for, and it's not new housing, it's housing to house people in general. So where can we live? Where it's rent or ownership of housing? Do we have enough in our stock? What type of housing do we have? Are they too old? Do we need to renew? What are we looking at? And are they affordable? Can we afford it based off of wherever you are in the range of income? Is it affordable for your range? Whether it be, our very low, or whether it be our market rates, is that affordable for folks to live in? Anything else?
No.
Okay. And then lastly, well, not lastly, but another thing that we participated in was the Palm Beach Transportation Agency's 561 corridor project study. So right now they're working on their long-range plan for the 561 corridors, and we were able to participate in that in order to ensure that what we're looking at as a city is aligning with what's happening in the county, and that we're able to make sense of what they're trying to do and not randomly putting one in one area and we're like, no, our plans have it where we'll be adding this to 7th Street, random number I just chose. But this was really important for us as a city in order to really ensure that we are working together and not against one another. No questions there? Okay. Other updates. In the midst of writing, we've also been participating in, ooh, this black is a little, how do you say dark? We've been participating in different community events that are happening here in the city. In the month of May, since I last saw you guys, we participated in the Staff's Wellness Fair. We did some surveying of our residents and vendors at the Tiki Market. And then in the month of June, we participated in the Seafood Fest, where we were able to get different community members' input. We participated in a field trip that the children had at the Lindsay Davis Center, learning about food and producing their own food and getting feedback from them as to why is it important? What do we need it for? Where do we get our food? Understanding from the kids, where do we get our food? And what's the importance of space in order for us to continue to have food? Yes. He was fabulous.
And I just watched how he directed them with the plants and the grow. It was just an amazing event.
Can I say
for
a
the
little
young
tidbit?
people at Lindsay Davis. So
He
I
even
wanted to make sure you say Christopher McCall for the fabulous job he did with the children.
He even made, so I followed for the whole thing, and he even made landscaping interesting to me.
Absolutely.
And they were like, yeah, and I was like, really? It's a tree. But he just made it so much fun that the kids were asking, when it was time to go, they were like, we have to go? Yeah. And I felt so bad. I was like, we got nothing more. But he was phenomenal. Absolutely. He was phenomenal with them. Yes, that was great. And it was important because as he was showing them, like he would just say, what's this? Randomly pull something out and allow them to explore and feel comfortable to be around it all and just get excited about food. Yes, he was phenomenal. We also participated in the Juneteenth family event where we were able to just randomly pick moms and grandmas that were actually there to support their kids to kind of get their input, like what do you think about our city? So we were able to give them our surveys. And then we were supposed to have a senior sip and paint tomorrow, but unfortunately, we have a loss within our community. And so in respect to that, we will not be having that sip and paint with our senior center tomorrow.
Sip? What kind of sips?
Juice. We're sipping juice. And so our upcoming is we're going to be participating with the Coffee with the Cop, where we'll be just listening in to understand our community's view with safety and the work that our fabulous police department is working on. In the month of July, we'll be meeting with the Black Merchants Association on the 10th, Library Advisory Board on the 13th, and participate in Jazz on the Beach. And if you have any other events that you guys know of, would like us to show up to, we want to be there. And so that is part of our plea. Oh, this is it, need to get the word out. This is part of our plea for folks to invite us to what's happening here in the city in order to ensure that we are getting input from everyone around. And that is pretty much my presentation. Any other questions?
No questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
In the feedback that you're hearing about the current state of housing in Riviera Beach, because a lot of the rents here are just like out of control, and I know the governor, there's new legislation going into effect July 1st as far as, some of those things, but it's just, it really saddens me with the state, because with the state of housing. And I know especially here, I have a son and a daughter-in-law who live behind the new fire station, and they've been living independently. It's gonna be going on for 3 years in that housing complex there. I believe it's called the Abbey. But second continuous year, their rent has increased. So now it's basically unaffordable for two people, a two-person income, no kids, who can't even afford to live on their own as young adults who now have to move back home. So it's just really concerning to me. So I'm kind of wondering, like, what has been the response from the community with the current housing situation here in our city?
So the reality of housing here in the States, as well in Florida and locally here in Riviera, has been an increase that we've been observing, and everyone's been talking about it. So a lot of things that we hear the most of is affordability, affordability, affordability. And at the same time with affordability, that's gone hand in hand with it was, how do we make sure we don't push out our residents that live here? What is it that we can do in order to prevent that? And so that's been very much our focus, and this is part of why we're excited to be participating in this pilot, in order for us to kind of get a jump start, to be able to figure out how to really use this housing for all in a meaningful way, and not be behind the wheel, but actually be the ones that are leading this initiative, because this would allow us to lead it, which means that we'd be looking at our policy sooner than any other group in order to try to counter these situations. But that's as far as a comp plan really can come into it in that way, is to how do we set ourselves up in that way to look at what we invite into the city, or look at what we have in the city, in order to ensure that we still have housing for everyone here.
Okay, thank you.
I believe in the past, we discussed this with Mr. Sermons, and myself and others on the board have asked, are there any empty lots, city-owned properties in the city that we can look at for city-sponsored workforce housing? We've never received a response. So I'm not sure if there is such a property-owned, vacant property, land in Riviera Beach that we can use or not. I mean, it's just a thought, because housing is out of control.
Chair, we used to have that sort of a website where you can go and look at available land for sale by the city, and this is prior to me moving here to Riviera Beach. That was advertised, and pretty much most of the marine-based industries bought up all of that land, as well as some small developers. The same thing with West Palm Beach, they had it as well, but this was actually depleted. The city gave it away for pennies on a dollar, and didn't retain any for the purpose that you are talking about now. So here we are, and here is the feedback that our Board Member Burgess talked about, as well as members. So we're just really up a creek, and I just don't think that the city, when we have opportunity to buy land for that purpose, we never jump on it. There's some prime land that should have been snatched up by the city right across from the marina, where the Marina Phase 2 is going to happen. And we allowed someone else to come in and to buy it, and we could have had a beautiful downtown area, but we just give land away and never jump on any opportunities. So that website has been defunct. There's nothing there.
Yep. There's nothing else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
If there's nothing further, does any board member have anything else to say before we move for a motion to adjourn?
Just really quick, I just wanted to thank the board, the city, for sending a condolence card last month for me and my family. Much appreciated.
Mr. Chair, I do ask you to pray for my family, the young lady that met her untimely death. That was my cousin. So we're asking for prayer right now so we can adjust to it. And I'm trying to adjust to it. And the one thing I know, God will answer prayer. So right now, that family needs, our family needs prayer. Thank you.
Condolences, Ms. Burgess,
Thank
to your family, Ms. Shepherd. You have Ms. Davis?
I do, if there's nothing else on the board.
Yeah, just one thing. I just want to give kudos to the board here. There was a project not too long ago that took place at the port where the company came in from Chicago, and they wanted to build the big giant vats right there at the port, and we did approve that project. And one of the stipulations that, at the time when I was chair, that I suggested, as well as the board agreeing upon that was the gateway from Riviera, West Palm Beach into Riviera Beach, and we wanted some fantastic signage welcoming our guests. I drove by there. Let me tell you, that is absolutely lovely. And again, someone mentioned that we should, the chief said we should come by and see the fruits of our decision. That was one of our visible fruits of our decision. And they don't really have to do anything else. I don't know if that company is ever looking, but I certainly appreciate what that company did, listened to us, followed up, and it is a really nice greeting into the city of Riviera Beach. And we all had contribution in putting that as a stipulation, and they followed through, as well as with staff.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. If there's nothing further, it is 7:43. Do I have a?
Mr. Chair, before adjourning, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief Kurd asked me to announce before leaving, this coming Monday, June 26th, the City of Riviera Beach Fire Department will be hosting an interdepartmental chili cook-off. This event will be held from 11 to 2 at the new Fire Station 88 that was just discussed, and all are invited.
And can we get that in an email as a reminder,
Okay, will do.
Madam Clerk?
June 26th, what time?
11 to 2.
Motion to dismiss?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. 7:43 PM. Thank you very much. Great meeting.